Welcome back, Shalloners, and welcome, Billie Eilish fans. Do you guys have a fandom name? How about Billie Goats? Or Eyelashers? I'll think. I'll think of something. I just don't want you to end up with some crappy name like Selenators. No, you deserve better. So, Billie recently covered Vogue magazine, and she gave a really open, honest, and revelatory interview. So we're going to break down some of the stuff she said, figure out what we can learn from it, and also kind of maybe see if we can get some sense of where Billie is going to take her career and some pitfalls she's going to have to watch out for that maybe she's not even aware of yet. But first, just want to remind you guys to follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO. I recently did a super fun Billie Eilish inspired photo shoot that I think you guys are going to like, so go over there and check that out. Also, I let you vote on the next video topic and weigh in and tag me and stuff and all that stuff. Also, if you have a love question of your own, find me on my website, shallonlester.com, and click Get Help. I get back to you within a week. It's pretty cool. And be sure to shop my new merch collection, also found on my website. So Billie, I've done a video before on Billie on how to embrace being weird, right? Because Billie is weird for a pop star, certainly for a pop star. I mean, let's be honest. If she went to your high school and she dressed like the way she dresses, you'd be like, that's a weird chick, you know? And that can either make you or break you. Your weirdness, and go watch the video on that, but like weirdness can be the thing that defines you in a good way, or it can be the thing that defines you in a bad way. And Billie is so young, and she's been famous for like actually quite a while now. Every tour she's gone on for the last 4 years, she's only 18. And she's like had tours for 4 years, I had no idea, have sold out. Like she is no joke. So she's been like in this burgeoning spotlight for a while, and it's getting pretty intense. So I want to go through her Vogue interview. I mean, not like line by line because it's long, but just, I really read it and I highlighted a bunch of things that kind of jumped out at me. So here's Billie's background, if you don't know about her. She grew up in a family of like kind of showbiz people. Her parents were basically failed actors, and they were doing sort of odd jobs to make ends meet. Basically, they didn't have a lot of money. And Billie and her brother Phineas were always very into music. The whole household was very musical. She describes it as underwear. It's something that you always have on, even if you can't see it. You know, I was like, that's so interesting. It made me wonder, like, what's my own personal underwear? What am I always doing or thinking about, even if I'm not actually doing it? I don't know. That's interesting. What's your underwear? Huh. Billie, so many epiphanies here. And so when Billie made her first song, Ocean Eyes, when she was 13, and it kind of like went sort of SoundCloud viral, her parents were like, oh shit, like this could be a viable career. Now, there's been some not great feedback on her parents that they kind of shoved her into the spotlight. And now they work for her. Like they work for the tour. She pays them a salary. Is it not wild that she's taking care of her family? So that's point number one that I want to talk about. What do you do if you're the one taking care of your family? This is the most unnatural feeling in the world to have, where you have to be the one calling the shots, making the decisions, and cleaning up the messes for people who you thought were going to be doing that for you. Now, I don't think Billie's parents are particularly messy, but there is no doubt she is shouldering the burden of that family. If she decided to quit tomorrow, her family would not have any money. That's a lot of pressure to put on a teenager, you know? And we have seen historically how that works out. Lindsay Lohan, Hayden Panettiere, even Hilary Duff has had her ups and downs as well. It's a lot of pressure on a child to be thinking and performing and with the responsibilities of an adult, but really none of the power. And man, isn't that being a teenager in general, right? Don't we all, famous and non-supportive, feel that way? I remember being in high school and I was like, I am literally working harder than my parents. I have so much to do. I'm at school all day busting my ass. Then I have ASB student council after school. Then I come home and work on my stupid diorama or whatever it is I had to do. Then on the weekends, I'm doing something else. It's like, wait, you're complaining about your job that you do, and first of all, you get paid for, and a job you chose on purpose. I didn't choose to take stats and calculus. I hate it. And then when you come home, you're done. And you get to make every decision. You decide whether or not I have pizza for dinner. You decide how long my curfew is. And it's like, fuck. And that's why teenagers are like, ugh. So that's why I love teenagers. Like, I think they're great. I love you guys. That's why I kind of gear this channel towards people who are younger, because it's like, I get it, man. I remember it's so hardcore. Like, it's gnarly. So even if you're not paying your family's wages, it's a gnarly position to be in. And I think that's something people love about Billie, is like they see that sort of struggle within her. They see that she is like kind of carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, certainly also in terms of her body image. But we can talk about that a little later. We'll get there. So what do you do if you're the one shouldering the burden? Now, somebody who's very close to me in my life has been in this position where their family is chaotic, sometimes chaotic good, very often chaotic bad, right? And they're left picking up the pieces, paying the rent because they blew all their money on a vacation and just assumed that their kid was gonna pay for it. It's just like, oh. And what I would always tell him is like, you have the divine animal right to protect yourself and your peace and your future. When I get confused about things, I go back to the animal kingdom, right? And I think, how many animals stay with their parent, stay in the nest their entire life, and then take care of their parent? I literally can't think of any. I can't think of any. It's not the natural order of things. The order of things, one generation births, the next generation grows up, they do the same. It's the cycle of life, for God's sakes. I don't think we all need to get an explainer on this. So we as humans, though, feel something that animals don't. Guilt. Oh, do we feel? It's like, I feel guilt for like ants and elephants and aardvarks and wallabies. It's like all the animals who don't feel guilt, just go ahead and heap it all on the shoulders of Homo sapiens. We'll take it all. And so that perverts and distorts the natural order, the way Mother Nature has designed us to operate. And I don't care. Let's say you're only 17. At some point, you are going to have to decide between your current family and the family you are going to build. And I don't mean you have to abandon one and leave them behind, but it's basically, I'm going to decide between the past or the future. You can't look ahead and behind at the same time. You try to do that when you're walking, you don't move anywhere. You're back, you're forth, you don't go anywhere. The same is true on the macro in life. If you are constantly caught taking care of your family, you are not creating a family of your own. And it's not, don't get caught up in the family aspect of your own. It's like, it's not about whether or not you want to have kids, you want to get married right now. Family is within. I have my family, my mom, my relatives, but I have my own personal Shallon family. And within my Shallon family is my dreams, my goals, my sense of just following my nose and being able to travel when I want to, my friends who I date. It's my life. The biosphere of my own life lies within me. Now look, I'd be lying if I said my mom wasn't my priority. I don't care if you kill every person on earth, you're not killing my mother. You know what I mean? Like, she is my soulmate. She is my best friend. I'm an only child, if you couldn't tell. But this is, and still though, we got to think of our own future. So what do you do though if you really, it's like, okay, well, if you pull the plug on helping your family, like, they're kind of going to sink like a stone. Figure out something that's going to work for you. Sit your family down and say, I can't keep this pace up. I can't keep up maybe paying your rent. I can't keep up coming over every Sunday for Sunday dinner. I need to have a life of my own. I can't marry the person you want me to. And be like, we need to negotiate. If you want me in a caregiver role, that means I'm like your boss. Let's look at this as if it were a job. I'm the boss because I'm making all the decisions and shouldering all the responsibility. So it's time to do a little negotiation here. So maybe I don't come over every Sunday. Maybe I come over one Sunday a month, but I spend all day there and you guys are happy. And maybe that's not your ideal situation, but I am helping you with something. And therefore I get a say in this. And if you don't like it, then maybe I don't need to help. One of my favorite movies, and I quote this all the time and it probably creeps people out, is A Few Good Men, with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. You can't handle the truth. Like that movie. If you're ever like hungover and it's on TBS, watch it. It's very like, oh, this is nice. But there's this moment when Jack Nicholson, he's like this grizzled old general who's the bad guy, and he's on the stand and he says, You sleep under the blanket of freedom I provide, and then you question the manner in which I provide it. There's a reason I've remembered that quote, because it's like, yes, like you sleep under the blanket of financial security, getting your errands done, helping you with your health, talking to Aunt Regina because you hate her, and then you question the manner in which I provide the help you are dependent on. Have you heard the phrase, beggars can't be choosers? That's a pretty synoptic version of the Jack Nicholson quote. So you got to look at this from a place of power, because you do have power. You do have a bargaining chip, right? You don't have to lay down. It's like, well, they need me. They need to help themselves. And I understand that's not always a scenario. That's not always a scenario. Your mom's going through chemo. Your dad lost his job. It's not that black and white, right? And it's easy for me to say as someone who is not being burdened in that way. But you have to sit down and say, okay, what can I do? And where can I find a middle point between obligation and independence? And how much guilt am I willing to live with on a day-to-day basis in service of my own internal family, my own dreams, my own happiness, my own peace? And the thing with guilt is, you really can get used to living with it. You cannot get used to resentment. That shit doesn't go away. That intensifies. That doesn't have a half-life. It has a double life. It just keeps on going. And resentment is exactly what you're going to get if you defer your dreams for the previous generation. Chronically, pathologically, endlessly. Everyone needs help now and then. And of course, like sometimes it's going to be, you're going to spend 6 months at your mom's bedside and that's the way it is. Suck it the fuck up. She gave birth to you. But if this just seems like an open-ended dynamic of, well, you better bring home the bacon. Dad lost his job again because he's coming to work drunk and I'm not going to leave him. He doesn't need to go to AA. You need to get another job. If it's fragile, let it break. We think our parents are these infallible alien beings that just hatched out of a pod. And then you grow up and oh my God, you realize they're actually just people. They're actually just people. I grew up with a single mom. My dad was not involved with my life. And I'm glad about it. He was a very chaotic person. And I remember this one night, we call it the Walmart conversation because we were in the parking lot of Walmart as so many like sad, like emotionally, just what a sad place. But I was like, why did you have a baby with someone who was the way that he was? Like, for me, from an outside perspective, just reading the on paper synopsis of my father, it's like, what? And she said something so simple and so sad and so true and human. I just kept thinking it was going to work out. And I was like, oh. And because I was like 22 at the time. And I'm like, I get that. I feel that. Maybe not from a daughter-mother place, but from a woman-to-woman place. I get that shit from a human point of view. So it's like, man, they're just kind of making the best decisions they can. Or not. They're making the same kind of bad decisions your friends are making. The same kind of bad decisions you make, right? And yes, in a perfect world, our parents operate on a much higher platform and threshold, but that isn't always the case, right? And if that isn't the case, you have to read the writing on the wall and be like, this is going to be a permanent situation. They're never gonna start saving for retirement. Dad's never gonna stop drinking. Mom's never gonna move on, blah, 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 blah. This is what it is. So I gotta ask myself, if I'm gonna sign up for all this bullshit for the rest of my life, are their choices going to therefore be my choices forever? Because what do we always talk about? What is the thing we don't have? 2 things we think we can get more. Time. We know that we can't make more time, but we don't have a concept of how finite time is, how fleeting time is. We all think we're going to die at 95 in our bed. That might not be true, baby girl. I hope it is, but it might not be. You don't know how much longer you've got left. And if the end comes, if a diagnosis comes, do you really want to be like, great, I let guilt rule my life? Even if that bad day never comes, even if you do live to 95, you don't want to look back then and think that, because you're going to have a lot more data to pull from. Oh, I didn't spend 5 years doing that and then I got to die. I spent 65 years doing that and now here I am. I never went to culinary school. I never lived in Spain. I took care of my alcoholic mom because she didn't feel like going to rehab and looking that in the face. So I just picked up all the pieces forever and raised my siblings. And that feeds, what do we call? Resentment. And that only gets worse. So time we can't get more of, and we can't get more energy. We think we can. And I've talked before, energy is currency, just like money. And when we're out of money and we want something, what do? We pull out our credit card. I'm just swipe, I'm going to Ibiza. You're not making more money in that moment. You're going into debt. Now there's a deficit, right? You don't even have zero. You have less than zero. Our energy works the same way. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. What am I gonna do? It's 4 p.m. Go to bed? Nope. Coffee, Adderall, whatever. I'm awake. You are now in a deficit. You're in a debt, an energy debt. And you are going to be operating at an energy debt if you're dealing with people who guilt you all the time. And you're feeling that resentment for everything you're not doing for yourself. Because on some level, you're maybe enabling these people. And look, this might not be the case with Billie, but it might not be the case. And I mean, every child star's parents at the time are like, we're looking out for her. We're keeping the boundaries and keeping everyone at bay. And of course, we're not siphoning the money. I hope that's not true. Her parents seem like good people. She seems really happy and stable. So, that's great. And not all these stories are bad, but not all of them are good. So this makes me wonder, and it makes me worry a little bit. So you got to sit down and decide how much guilt you're willing to feel, but also be pursuing your dreams. Because that guilt's going to fade, because you know how it's going to fade. You're going to be achieving things. You're going to be like, you know what? Yeah, I feel guilty. I didn't go to my mom's house for dinner, but the earth kept on spinning. No, I didn't bail my stupid ass brother out of jail for his 5th DUI. I guess maybe he's going to learn a lesson. No, I didn't pay for my sister's prom dress. She can get a job and she can earn it herself, or she can wear a hand-me-down like I did. The world keeps going. And that's an important thing for you to learn. The world keeps spinning, right? If it's fragile, let it break. Let some people learn some consequences. Let them know boundaries, because no one like family will push your boundaries, right? Nobody. They know how to push all the buttons. They installed them. So it is the most important we have boundary with family, and we learn to override that guilt. In so many ways, being a narcissist is like an incredible gift. Kim Kardashian has a lot of boundaries because she's a narcissist, and this is good. This is a trait we want to borrow from her, that she's like, no, I have boundaries, respect them. Same with Kourtney Kardashian. She's literally said that. I have boundaries, respect them. If you're mad, I actually don't give a fuck. Guilt? I don't feel guilt. This shit doesn't work with me. Next. And she's a high achiever. Kim's a high achiever because they have those boundaries. People like Khloe, not as much. And look at the differential there. So that is Billie and her family. I didn't think I was going to talk that long about that. So we're going to move on to another thing. Friends. Not just friends. Is this a vodka soda? No, it's just soda water. Not just friends, but getting revenge on people who weren't your friend. Now, I've been pretty upfront that I was dork in high school. I wore orange pants and rainbow shoelaces and blue eyeshadow, and I did not really look that different. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I looked crazy. I didn't have like braces or glasses or a club foot or a hook for a hand or a hunchback that people spray painted. I don't know. But I was still a dork. So I think Billie can identify with this. So this is one of her quotes. She remembers the looks that the rich girls gave her. Not mean, but strange. A lesson in the ruthlessness of class that her own outsider identity began to form around. Quote, she said, I was never bullied. It's just a vibe you get. You can tell somebody doesn't like you. Of course you can. I had an entire childhood of that. And now it's interesting because I'll meet fans where I'm like, if I was in class with you when I was 11, you would have hated me. Oh man. Billie is learning something much sooner and in a much more intense fashion that a lot of us are lucky enough to learn. Dorks finish first. Weirdos kind of finish first. Weird people are creative people. those prom queen type, I mean, I was prom queen, but like those types, those very rigidly adhering to whatever the social construct is, whether that's I'm doing cheer, I'm playing lacrosse, I'm doing debate team, I'm going to Princeton, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting married at 21, I'm joining an MLM and selling LuLaRoe. They don't have the allowance, either they don't have the capability of being creative, so they follow the sheep-like path, or they are not allowed to be creative in that fashion. And usually it's the latter. Because I'm not jealous of people who do something I am not capable of doing. I don't look at dudes in the NHL and be like, fuck you. Like, I'm not getting drafted. It's fine, you know? I don't look at a pop star and be like, I mean, well, Selena, I do. But, you know, like, they're doing something, that's their lane. That's amazing. They don't do what I do. No, it's all love. But I do look at people who are doing things that I don't feel like I'm allowed to do, and I do get bitter. And one of those things I've talked about before is like my sexuality. I was not allowed to be bisexual. I am. So that was way on the back. That was not really a thing. And so I have an issue with these girls who put like queer in like their Instagram bio. I'm like, get a different identity. And I mean, I stand by that in part because I don't think your identity should ever revolve around your vagina. Where you put it, who puts their face there. No, you're more than that. You're worth a lot more than that. Maybe let's revolve it around our minds and our hearts and our achievements, not just who we fuck. You're better than that. But it's also because like, I could never have done that. I could never have done that. I could never have done that. So, no. And Billie's peers probably felt the same way. They were in dance, like you had to look a certain way, you had to act a certain way, you had to be the teacher's pet, you had to be perky. And Billie was like weird and dark and kind of swirly at times, and she was expressing that in a cool way. So people were like, no. But that's gonna pay off. I said in another video that when it comes to dating, sometimes the things guys end up, like they start out loving about you, you're so witty, ends up being the thing they hate. Smart mouth, you've always got something to say. But the inverse is true when it comes to public perception and friends and like that feeling of being ostracized in your peer group. The things that people say you're weird and you're an outsider for, down the line are the things that can pay off. And look, it may be that Crystal from Homeroom is never going to be like, you did it. Who gives a shit? Let her work at Walmart. I can't believe I brought up Walmart 2 times in one video. But here we are. Like, let her have her life in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Okay? You're going to be meant for different things. And it's important to use that feeling of being ostracized, like we talked about in the weirdness video, as fuel, not a fortress. Fuel, not fortress. You want to use that to springboard yourself up. You know what? I don't fit into this group. I bet I do fit into some group because it's literally impossible, given the internet, that I can't find my tribe. So instead of trying to like shape shift myself into what these people want me to be, that I don't even want to be, it's not even fun, I don't think it's cool, and it's certainly not even possible, I'm going to lean in. I'm going to lean into my weirdness. I'm going to embrace it, and I'm going to monetize it. I'm going to take this to a degree that I'm now a YouTuber. I have an Etsy store. I got into Harvard because I wrote a weird ass essay for film school. Like, whatever you want to break this down as, fuel. Everything I've ever achieved has been revenge for something someone did to me in middle school. I'm not going to lie about it. And it's very important to me that people from that time period, from like middle school to college, like know what I'm doing, know that I'm good at it, and kind of approve of it. Ugh. Not approve of it, but it's like, it is satisfying to hear them be like, wow, Shall, like you're doing so well. I was like, I know. I was doing great when I was 13. Like, we all need that social inclusion, right? That's one of our most basic needs as human beings. So if you can't get it now, take a tip from Billie and think about how you can make this work overall from your life, because you might never going to get it from the Crystals and the whoever. You might never get it. And as you get older, you realize you don't need it. You need it from people who you actually respect. You need it from other YouTubers, other creatives, other bankers, other whatever, pilots. Go where your tribe is and seek them out. Because like Billie said, people who were, I don't know, it's crazy. Yeah, like if I was in class with you when I was 11, you wouldn't like me. So why try? Like, why dial down who she was to get someone to like her who just was simply not evolved enough to appreciate who Billie was? That's probably what you're dealing with. A lack of evolution. So, the last thing we're going to talk about in the Billie interview is how to leave behind friends who are holding you back. Hold on. This is one thing she talks about. She used to be in chorus when she was like 13. Chorus was my favorite thing in the world, she said. But Eilish didn't make the chorus's prestigious chamber singers when she was 13, which effectively ended her tenure there just as her professional career was beginning. It was really emotional for me, she said. I knew that if I left, everybody would form new friendships without me. When I think back to me crying about it then, I was crying about the future and what I thought it would be. And you know what? I was totally right. You can't stop people from moving on when they have to. When you go on a trip, you can't expect people to sit still until you get back. Girl, she's a wise little thing. There comes a time, like we talked about with family, where you have to look, am I actually looking forward or am I kind of looking backward? It's really hard to grow when you're trying to grow at the same pace as somebody else. And this is why I say, don't marry young. Shit, girl, don't marry at all. It's a contract with the government. You don't need to do that. But don't pair up in a serious fashion while you're still growing. We acknowledge how true this is for plants and animals, right? You want a tree to grow, you don't put a little bell over it. You don't put a little cage over it. You're like, no, it's got to stretch its limbs and do its tree thing. You say that for animals. A fish in a too small tank, you're like, let it out. It needs to grow. Same with dogs. But when it comes to us, we're like, no. This boy that I'm dating senior year of college, I'm going to move where he moves. I'm going to like defer grad school because he got a job in Minneapolis, even though I literally hate it there. You're a fish in a small tank and you created that tank and you're the one staying there. You don't need to do that. And sometimes that happens with friends too. And it's almost harder to see with friends. With boys, we can put things into perspective a little bit sharper. With friends, it's like, you're not supposed to leave your friends. You're supposed to break up with boys. There's a million of them. Everywhere I turn, boy. Best friends. Friends are sisters. You're my sister. You're my best friend forever. Best friend for life. And you know what the irony is? You can have that if you allow each other to grow. I've talked before about how when I was in high school, I went through what I call my coolness revolution. I was 14, the dork in the orange pants. And I'm like, I don't want to be a dork in orange pants anymore. I want to be prom queen. I want to be in the popular group. I want to be popular. I want to be student council president. And guess what? I was. But in order to do that, I had to leave people behind, not because they weren't cool, but because they didn't want me to change. They were either fine where they were or threatened. This goes back to what we were saying about talent and creativity. People either don't have the ability to do what you do, or they're jealous that you're doing what they cannot, what they don't feel empowered to do. And this was the same for my social growth. I had one best friend. She was my best friend since I was 5. She literally will not accept my Facebook friend request. Like, all right, girl, way to show me. Like, grow up. But I was like, I want to be popular. You know, I'm getting a new wardrobe. I'm joining the same clubs that they're in. I'm running for office. I'm befriending people. And she's like, you're a sellout. And I was like, fuck you. Like, I wasn't saying I'm not going to hang out with you anymore, but she needed to control me. She needed to control me so that she felt better about her social standing or whatever it was. I don't know. And I don't really care. I don't care why a fish is in a small tank. It just needs to be out of it, right? So I had to leave her behind. And there were 3 of us at the time. Miriam, Diane, me. Guess who's still one of my best friends? Diane. Do you know why? Because she was like, hey, yeah, do your thing, girl. Get it. Level up. And she still has that attitude. We live close to each other. I see her all the time. She's my sister. Because she didn't feel threatened by me growing. Why? She was growing too. She was an alpha female also. So there wasn't this element of competition. She knew that my growth and advancement, maybe it was at a different pace or rate or lane than hers, took nothing off her table. I could be popular. She could be popular. I could be cute. She could also be cute. It wasn't a competition. It wasn't a threat. It was sisterhood. And I needed to see that. I needed to see how those roads diverged, right? I needed to see who was truly on my side and who wasn't, because the other friend positioned herself. I'm just looking out for you. You don't want to be friends with those people. They're shallow and stupid. I was like, actually, they're not. Like, and even if you think they are, I have a different assessment, and you don't have to be friends with them. That's okay. But if you're asking me to choose, then you're putting me in a position of control, right? That's not love. Love isn't ultimatums. It's not. That's not my definition. That might be somebody else's. I don't abide that. I think it's annoying. So I needed to see where she actually stood, because a lot of people dress up control as love. Control is protection. I'm trying to keep you safe from these big, bad, preppy kids. No, you're not. You're trying to keep me small so that you feel better about staying small, right? You're trying to keep me weird and outside and not doing anything useful with my weirdness, like running a really cool campaign for vice president that everyone talked about, because you're not doing anything cool with your weirdness. You're just being weird for weird's sake, you know? So I needed to see that writing on the wall, and Billie probably did too. And she still has friends. Like, she has like her best friend that she hangs out with and brings on tour with her, because her best friend wasn't like, well, you're too good for chorus. You're on tour. She's like, great, go do whatever you want. So who knew we were going to learn so much from a Billie Eilish interview, right? Like, there's so much to unpack with her. I love her. I think she's so fascinating. Her voice is so cool. And I really want to see her live, because I can't imagine how she sings live, because she's not like, rah. You know, her brother described her voice as somewhere between a whisper and a hum. And like, that's so true, but it doesn't seem to lend itself to like an arena show. So I really want to see like what it's like. I think it'd be really cool. But like I said, go check out my Billie photo shoot on Insta. It was really fun. And like, of all the outfits I brought to the shoot, like, I was like, oh my God, people are going to make fun of me. I had my own Billie moment. People are going to make fun of me. This is so weird. This is so beyond like who I'm supposed to be. The little blonde, whatever. And people were like, literally, this is your look. That you look, the photographer was like, I've never seen you look so authentic. You just feel authentic in this. And I was like, really? Because it's so comfortable. I was like, so comfortable. I was like, please tell me that essentially wearing scrubs all day long is my look. I am beyond here for it. Let me take off these Spanx. For more, click like and subscribe for 4 new videos a week. Also, be sure to listen to my podcast out every Wednesday. It's called Girl on Top, where I answer the best questions you guys have submitted. And like I said, follow me on Insta at ShallonXO. And if you have a love question, head over to my website, shallonlester.com.